Hey guys! So today's video is going to be a little bit different. Actually, a lot of it different. Today's video is not beauty related. It is a little bit more personal. I'm gonna be talking about my life as a housewife. If you are new to my channel or if you don't know me personally, you might not know that I am married. I am 19 years old. I will be 20 in 2 months. And I got married when I turned 18. So if you stumbled across this video because you are trying to decide whether or not to get married when you're young, I am not in any way, shape, or form telling you to get married. So do not take this as I'm telling you to, oh yeah, girl, do it. Get married when you're 16. I don't care, you know, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Everybody's life path is different, so I just wanted to point out in no way am I saying, do it, girl. There's lots of factors that go into, you know, everybody else's relationships and things like that. I'm just telling my personal story. Getting married at any age can be really difficult, so I thought I might just talk about getting married and being married and my husband and I and our relationship. So if you are curious as to what it was like for me to get married when I was 18 years old, then just keep on watching. I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous. So I guess I could start off just by telling you guys a little bit about our relationship, how we met, things like that. So my husband's name is Cam. Hi. Yeah, it's me. So I just want to let you guys know that Cam and I did do a video together. I have linked it in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you want to see him do my makeup for a video, you have to go like that video, because once that video hits 50 likes, he will do my makeup for a video. So just click that link and go like the video. I would really, really, really appreciate that. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled programming. Okay, bye. He is 21 years old and we met when he was 18 and I was 16. So he is just a couple years older than me. We actually met through a mutual friend. One of my best friends in high school was Nina. Nina, I love you, I miss you, if you're watching. But I guess I was at that point in high school. Every girl I feel goes through that in high school when they're like, don't want to be single anymore. They don't want to feel alone anymore. They just want a boyfriend. So Nina was sick of me talking about that. So she's like, hey, I know this guy. Like, our moms are friends. I could give him your number if you wanted me to. So she showed me his Twitter account. I looked at his little Twitter picture to see if I was interested. And his Twitter picture was a picture of him with a buck that he shot. My husband is a hunter. I wasn't really into like country boys or anything like that back in the day, so I got a little bit deeper in his Twitter and I saw a picture of him at Warped Tour. And if you don't know what Warped Tour is, I went to 4 Warped Tours, I believe, back in my concert going days. I was super into concerts and I went to Warped Tour several times. So anyway, I saw a picture of him at Warped Tour and I was like, maybe. And you can give him my number. So long story short, we started texting and not long after that we started dating. We were dating for about a year when we decided to get engaged. So we got engaged on February 22nd of 2015 and we were married on March 31st of 2015. I should point out that I was 17 when we got engaged and I had been 18 for 2 weeks when we got married. My birthday is on March 15th and we got married on March 31st. Yes, I know. I'm nuts. Now, the number one question that I guess people ask me when I tell them, you know, I've been married since I was 18 years old is, oh my goodness, what did your parents say? Everyone wants to know how my parents felt about it. And I am blessed enough to say that my parents were incredibly supportive. Did they want me to get married when I was 18? Probably not. They probably would have rather me waited. There was a time that I remember, I will never forget this, Mama, I know she's watching. We were sitting there talking about it and she looked me in my face, she told me and your dad don't want you to get married, but we also know that if you do get married at 18 years old and you don't have a supportive circle of people around you, it's just gonna make it that much harder for you guys. We know that to be successful, you need supportive people in your life. You know, she said you guys need people on your side, so we're on your side. Oh my gosh, don't start crying. So yes, my parents were unbelievably supportive. Again, they probably wish that we had went about it a little bit differently because when we first got engaged, we basically said that we were gonna be engaged for, you know, at least 2 years before we got married and we ended up getting married within a month. So there was a moment in time, I feel, I guess the need to talk about this, there was a moment in time before we got engaged, but Cam and I had sort of not talked about it seriously, but we had discussed in the future getting engaged kind of thing. It was before we really talked about it to other people. It was just, you know, a me and him thing. I saw an article on Facebook that one of my friends had shared, and it was about the perks of getting married when you're younger. And I read it, and I loved it, and I shared it to my Facebook page, at which point people on my friends list went nuts. I got a lot of comments from friends and family who I truly like most of them I knew truly cared about me. I personally think that other people that commented on that thread just sort of wanted to put in their 2 cents. And I think people took that I shared that article as, oh my gosh, her and Cam are getting engaged. Oh my gosh, they're getting married tomorrow. A lot of people commented on that thread, and it was, I wouldn't say that I was attacked, but a lot of people had something to say about it. So there ended up being, you know, 50 some, 70 some comments on that thread, and a lot of people were saying, oh my gosh, you know how hard marriage is. Marriage is so hard, you know, marriage is so difficult. Oh my gosh, getting married, you know, marriage is really hard. That was the only argument that anybody had. I would say marriage is hard at any age. I understand why it might make it harder for, you know, a younger couple to get married. There was a few positive comments on that thread that were more or less agreeing with what the article was talking about, and all of those positive comments were from people who had gotten married at a very young age and have stayed married. We have friends of ours who they met when they were 15, they got engaged and married when they were 19, and they're still married. I have one really close friend who actually sang at our wedding. Her and her husband got married when they were 17, and they're still married after like double digits. So what I kind of took away from that little Facebook argument was that everyone that was telling me don't get married, either got married when they were, you know, late 20s, early 30s, or even older, or have been divorced. Obviously, I would expect someone who's older, who's been divorced, who's been through marriage, of course, I would expect them to be like, oh my gosh, girl, you think you're gonna get married at 18? No, don't do it. Don't do it. I would expect them to feel that way, obviously. Does that mean I'm gonna take their advice and assume that just because your marriage didn't work out, mine's not going to? And one of the one and only things that people would tell me is, oh my gosh, you think you can get married at 18? Girl, marriage is so hard. That was the only argument I heard. Marriage is so hard. Do you know how hard marriage is? Oh my gosh, marriage is so hard. And I'm like, does that mean I shouldn't do it? Like, there's a lot of things that are hard in life, but that doesn't make them not worth doing. So in Cam and I's marriage, and when we were getting engaged and when we were getting married and moving in together and everything like that, he had already had some obligations for a job he was working, and that job included a contract. So we had some decisions to make as to when we wanted to get married, if we wanted to get married, if I was gonna move with him, things like that. So there was lots of decisions that I had to make at a young age. And was that difficult? Heck yes. It would be so hard on anybody. And what made it more difficult for me is that when you're 17 and you're saying, hey, I got engaged, everybody has an opinion. Of course they do. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying making that decision is hard enough without everybody's opinions in your ear. And most of the people that gave me their opinions and, you know, had to get their 2 cents in there, family members, friends that are very, very close to me and truly wanted the best for me. They didn't want to watch me make a mistake. So I'm not belittling the fact that they shared their opinions. I'm glad they shared their opinions because I value their opinions. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't have given me their opinions. But there came a time in that decision-making process where I had to sit down by myself. I had to tune out what other people wanted for my life and say, okay, what do I want? What do I need for my life to make me happy? Because at the end of the day, it was me and Cam. It was just us. Just me and him. And it didn't really matter what anybody else said. Like I said, I truly, truly, truly valued their opinions and I wanted to know how they felt about the situation, but at the end of the day, it was my decision. And when I sat down and I took everybody else out of the equation, what other people wanted from my life, I wanted to be with my husband for the rest of my life. So I chose to marry him, and I'm very glad that I did. So I would say one of the hardest parts about getting married so young for me is that you sort of, even if people don't say it to your face, you sort of feel people expecting you to fail. People hear, oh, you're engaged and you're 17 years old. Oh, you're getting married and you just turned 18 2 weeks ago. Okay, like you know that people are expecting you to fail. People think that you will be divorced within a few years, you know? And like I said, they might not straight up say that to my face. Oh yeah, that's never gonna last. They don't say that to my face, but you just feel the doubt. And when that comes from people you really care about, that can hurt. So I guess one of the only other hard parts, every hard part about getting engaged and married when you're 18 years old has to do with other people. What my friends said, what my family said. But if I had taken everybody else out of the equation, it was just me and Cam, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. So like I said, we got engaged when I was 17 and we got married when I was 18. Just so that you understand sort of the timeline, I graduated high school in January. I actually graduated a semester early. So I graduated high school in January, got engaged in February, and married in March. So when I had gotten married in March, all of my classmates from my graduating class were still in high school. So if I wouldn't have graduated early, I would have been married for the last few months months of my senior year, but because I did graduate early, the rest of my classmates were still in their senior year, but I was gone. After I had gotten married in March, Cam had actually already moved to go start his job. Like I had mentioned earlier, there was some contracts and everything. He had already moved and I wasn't able to go with him right away. And so come May, June, when the rest of my classmates are graduating, I was still a part of that class. So I did the whole walking on graduation, some senior festivities. I went to a senior breakfast a few days before graduation. I knew that, you know, with social media nowadays, I knew that people would know that I had gotten married, and people treated me so differently. I can't explain the feeling. It wasn't like my friends, obviously, you know, people that I hung out with in high school were nice to me and it was normal, but people just acted so differently. And like I said, it wasn't like people were ignoring me or being mean to me. They weren't, you know, talking crap about me behind my back. I mean, maybe they were, but they just acted so differently. And I think I'm assuming that the reason why is because they were wondering if I was pregnant. I wasn't, for the record. I have never been pregnant in my life, for the record. But when I asked a few friends of mine who were like ride or dies, like we had been hanging out since 7th grade, 8th grade, I asked them, do people think I'm pregnant? And they were like, oh yeah, people ask us all the time. Which is funny to me because this part might bother some people and I don't care. I'm sorry. I truly am sorry if any of this offends you, because it's never my intention to offend anybody, but I'm not going to not say it just for fear of offending somebody. Cam and I waited to have sex until our wedding night. So after we were married and people were asking, are you gonna have kids? You know, like, are you having a baby? I would say if I'm pregnant, it's a honeymoon baby, because we waited to have sex until the day we were married. And that's something that I had been planning for a long time. My mom gifted this ring to me when I was in 7th grade. It is my purity ring. That was what I was gonna do. That was always my life plan. And I did it, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'm not ashamed of that. I feel like I can say that out loud and not be embarrassed. If that's not your thing, whatever. I don't care what other people do with their life, but that's what I wanted to do with mine. And so pregnancy rumors, I guess, were inevitable and they didn't bother me. I just kind of thought it was funny because it was like literally impossible for me to be pregnant. As for people treating me differently, I guess I don't blame them. It was kind of just like they didn't really know how to act around me anymore, because if I hadn't graduated early, I would still be in school with them like a normal high school senior, but I was married and moving really far away from where I grew up. I don't blame anybody that I went to high school with for like not knowing how to act around me, because we were at very different places in our lives. I've read, one of the pros that I read all the time is that it's much easier to merge lives when you're younger. If you get married when you're older and you're already set in your lives, you know, you already have a career, maybe you have kids, you know, bills, everything like that. We didn't have any of those things yet. We hadn't even gone to college yet. So it was really easy for us to become one and merge our lives together. One of my favorite things, I think, that this might make me emotional. One of my favorite things about being a young wife or having met my husband when I was 16 years old is that when we're 60, 70, 80, my husband's gonna have memories of me as a 16-year-old. Growing up is something that's very hard. Obviously, everybody goes through it, but I like doing it with somebody by my side. I like doing it with my best friend by my side. So that is one of my favorite things about being married so young, is that I get to grow with my best friend from age 16 till I die. And I think that that's pretty cool. One pro that I read on, I do a lot of research on Pinterest. I just Pinterest little articles about getting married young. I also read ones as to why you shouldn't get married young. But one pro that I read a lot is that you sort of let go of those selfish sort of habits before they even develop. So since I got married when I was 18 years old, a lot of people say, you know, oh my gosh, you get married when you're 18 years old, you're never gonna get that crazy single college wild experience. I don't mind that I missed out on that. And Cam and I are young. I'm not even 20 yet, and we don't have kids yet. So we are able to be crazy kids together. So one thing that Cam and I always said as we were getting engaged and married, we did a little bit of a Bible study. We didn't do it with a pastor. We just kind of bought them from Amazon and did it together. Like I said, when we were engaged, we were long distance, so we would Skype at the end of the night and like go over our answers in the little book. And one thing that we always said as we were going through that process, plain and simple, divorce is not an option. So I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, she's so naive, she's so young, she has no idea what life has in store for her. I agree. I have no idea what life has in store for me. But with that being said, would you rather me sit here and say, yeah, I married him when I was 18, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, I'll just divorce him. No big deal, I'll just divorce him. Would you rather me sit here and say that? No, I would rather go into it with the attitude that divorce is not an option. Divorce is not an option. If you get married for the right reasons, and we got married for the right reasons, we got married because we're in love and we want to be together for the rest of time, forever, till death do us part, whole skillet. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start getting emotional because I love him so much. So I guess that is all I have to say to that. The whole, she's so naive, oh my gosh, she's not even 20 years old yet, what is she thinking? Would you rather me have the opposite attitude and just act like divorce is no big thing? I would rather tell myself, we told ourselves right from the beginning before we even got engaged, if we get married, the second we get married, those papers are signed, we're married for life. Kim and I say that to each other all the time. We're like, man, I can't wait till I'm 80 and we're still in love, and people are like, dang, they were for real. We talked about how a lot of people say that marriage is 50-50. And we don't believe in that. Marriage is not 50-50. It's not like I give 50% and Kim meets me in the middle with 50% and you know, we make 100 together. That's just not how it works. You need to put in 100% at all times. And we also talked about always putting each other first. If I'm always striving to put my husband first and he's always striving to put me first, then it works. And we're both always happy, in theory. In theory. I'm not saying that I always put my husband first, and I'm not saying that he always puts me first, but if you strive to always put that person first, then you're doing pretty good. So I don't believe in the whole, you do 50%, I'll do 50% kind of thing. I believe in we both do 100%. The way that I look at it is that you shouldn't put 50% of your effort into anything that you do. You should put 100% of your effort into everything that you do. I would never say to my kid someday, if my kid has some big test or something at school that they're worried about, I would never say, hey girl, just put in 50%. Put in 50%, you'll be good. No. So I guess with all of this being said, I understand that this video might make it seem like I'm encouraging you to get married early, which I am not. Because everybody's life is different, everybody's path is different. I don't think that just because I got married young that it's for everybody. I don't think everybody should get married young. I don't think everybody should get married when they're 18 years old. I think that you're the only person who knows what's right for your life. So there you have it. I guess that completes this video. I hope you enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better and what it was like for me to get married when I was 18 years old. If you like this type of video, more personal, more not beauty related, then let me know. I'll definitely do more of them. Like always, make sure that you leave requests down below. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos of mine. And I will see you next time. Which was a few days ago.